willing to marry her. You're willing to say forsaking all others for a feeling that you cannot see or touch. So how you figure that? Most men are lame.
Okay.
Let's be clear. Have you ever slept with a woman that you knew you weren't going to be with?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And they just needed a body to fill a space in that moment. Is she good for your peace, legacy, and your portfolio?
I would say yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. I was dating 2 men at the same time. One would have been perfect. The other, he was that roller coaster ride that I was used to. She needs to be connected to her own femininity, spirituality, sensuality, and wisdom. That's the GPS. Women fight so much for equality that they're not getting any equity.
It's really disgusting when you think that a young lady could throw up her OnlyFans, make 6 figures.
Honestly, if I wouldn't do it, but I don't see a problem with that.
That's not it, April.
I believe so. It's the woman that appeals to the man's imagination is the woman that gets him.
This episode with April Mason is absolute fire. She's been one of the most requested guests, and this one's gonna spark some real conversation. And let's be real, a lot of people are struggling in relationships, not because they don't want something real, but because they've never had the right environment to grow into it. That's why we're launching our new community. I talk to people all the time who are smart and gifted, but they're trying to evolve in isolation. No structure, no tribe, no rhythm to stay consistent. This space changes that. We're focused on faith, family, and fitness, and it's built with live workshops, curated challenges, and inner circles designed to keep you locked in. When you plug in, you start moving different. Your mindset levels up, your patterns shift, and your life finally starts flowing. The doors are about to open, so click the link in the description, join the waitlist before it's too late. Let's get it. Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, in here with my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
Big facts. I had to, make sure I get my coffee for this one because it's been a long time coming.
Yes.
We got somebody very, very special.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a dope conversation.
We are blessed, y'all.
Yeah.
So that means if we blessed, you blessed. And Hardly Initiated had to work real long and hard to qualify for this sister right here. So I'm very proud to be able to introduce to you guys here on the set one of the most requested guests on Hardly Initiated. We are introducing April Mason. Welcome to Hardly Initiated,
Thank you
April.
so much, fellas, for having me. He said I had to qualify. We had to qualify.
Yes.
Got
yes.
to.
We had to become a high value platform
Exactly.
before we can get April
And
Mason on.
April, I like having conversations with you because you not only going to give us the wisdom that we need, you're going to make sure you get out of, something out of us too.
Yeah.
So,
I always challenge you guys.
Absolutely.
I'm going to challenge you to think about how you think, why you think the way you think, and why you believe, and if it's actually serving you. So let's do this.
And I can appreciate that.
Me.
Yeah.
I can absolutely appreciate that. We got some big announcements coming up because April's bringing some incredible work to the space here. April's going to be announcing her book that's coming out.
Yay.
All right. So it's a great conversation on the way here, and I'm very excited. We prepared for this for quite some time. It started getting hot before the episode. I literally had to stop. Like, stop talking, all right? Run the tape because it's going in. In fact, Ryan, I'm going to let you go ahead and lead this thing off. Steer the ship, brother.
Okay, so to kind of fill y'all in, we talk about relationships before we kicked off the show.
Yes.
And, you asked about both Tyshawn and I's relationship status. And I was telling you, Tyshawn is a lot more advanced than where I'm at. But I've been dating a young lady for coming up on a year. And it's a committed situation where, I'm investing everything into our relationship. And you asked me pretty much, where it's gonna go.
That boy blushing. Look at his face. He blushing.
Don't be wasting her time.
And I think about this is because you hear that from the ladies all the time. Like, hey, I don't want to deal with these guys that's wasting time. And you get the conversation again and again and again. How long is it gonna take you to make the decision? What's the next step in the relationship? And now that it's coming up on a year, I'm gonna be honest. I do feel a little pressure to say yes, we're gonna continue, or no, it's not quite working. And one of my, major concerns, is that how do I know I'm getting the best? And I don't want to say deal. That's in my mind.
No, I get
it's
it.
a deal. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And I'm right brain, so I'm looking at all the things that I bring, looking at things she bring, but I'm still thinking thinking about where I was, okay, I had a certain level of options with women. Thinking about where I'm at now, she's part of that, the certain level I have now. So I'm like, okay, well, if this the trajectory been on and I can see over the next 6 months to few years, this is where I'm going to be. In my mind, I'm thinking like, what are these other options I'm going to have access to? And what if I'm interested in those?
Yeah.
Honest thoughts.
Yeah.
It's honest thought. And you have the FOMO, fear of missing out. And like I was sharing with you before we start rolling, this man that you're becoming, because I've watched you guys since you first started. And for those that don't know, Tyshawn was almost going to be my son-in-law. He used to date my daughter.
She went there.
But I've watched you grow. But I think what you have to realize is, so has she. So while you're not becoming this amazing man that you see and what you bring to the table by yourself. She is there to put that feminine creativity, that support, that love, that respect, her ability to be agreeable, her ability to challenge you, all of those things that this man that you feel like you are turning into, she plays a part in that. But I got to say, this is why a lot of women don't like being the ride or die and sticking with you until you make it to that next level. Because as much as we pour into you, it's the possibility that you go from a bronze penny to a shiny quarter and you want something else. But she was there while you were a bronze penny. She was there while you were making this transition that you've made. So why can't she benefit from that?
That's a good point. And I think about that. I think you mentioned they were called these invisible
values.
Invisible
We
values.
got to talk about those because a lot of times men, we don't know how to put value on things we can't see, feel, and touch.
Exactly. And that's what, when I paused, coaching for almost 20 years, I've been in this space. My very first YouTube video was in 2008. Do not go look it up. It is horrible. I was on a little Metro PCS phone and the screen was green. But I've been in this space for a long time. And one of the things that I see consistently is men and women fighting over who gives more. Men look at it from the monetary perspective, but the problem is not even women know how to articulate their invisible value. So when you think about a woman, let's say you decide to propose to this woman, tell me what the things that you are going to be contemplating in your mind if you decide, you know what, I want to marry her or whoever.
Okay, so
tell me that.
First, when I think about my value, I'm like, okay, I'm helping you grow your business. I'm helping you put more money in your pocket. I'm helping you make decisions with your future and kind of where things are going. I'm helping, you prioritize the people in your life to know kind of, what goes where and how it works. I'm thinking about all these things. When I think about her and I think about those things, I'm like, well, I can't really look at my bank account and say that you helped me get X here in my business or helped me get there. But on the other end, I think, well, man, since I've been dating you, I've learned how to resolve issues a lot better. I've become extremely patient. I'm super motivated, I'm become even more protective of, my family because now she's become a part of my family. So even how I think about the things that I should be doing is like, I'm very motivated to be a good role model. And I'm like excited to lead and have this opportunity to lead. So it's like this intangible thing where she makes me better, but it's like you can't really see it, you know what I'm saying, like on the bottom line type of thing. So that's what the confusion is at. I'm like, is that the deal? I help you with these tangible things and you help me with just becoming better?
No, but see, here's the thing. So I did a book called Her Invisible Value, What Feminine Women Bring to the Table, and the men's book come out in June. The reason why I wrote that book is because I wanted to list 100 traits that women have that you benefit from that you cannot see, but you experience. You feel them.
We need to read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out in November. And the thing is, women don't know how to articulate those values to you, like our empathy, like our warmth, like our ability to be agreeable, our ability to challenge, our ability to influence. You think that all of the things that you listed is just helping her make money, and the things that you listed for her, that it's not. Her helping you gain more confidence allows you to walk into a room and close a deal. her ability to support you allows you to take some things off of your plate that you don't have to deal with, that puts money in the bank. Just because she's not physically doing the labor doesn't mean she's not contributing. So when you as a man say, I don't know what that is, think about it from this perspective. When a man asks a woman, will you marry me? He doesn't think about, she has a degree. She makes $100,000 a year. She is, she's pretty, but she knows how to cook. Y'all don't think of that.
Right.
You think, man, I became a better man in her presence. I love how she loves me. I love how she respects me. All of these things are things you cannot touch. But based on the feeling and how she makes you feel about yourself, you're willing to marry her. You're willing to say, forsaking all others, for a feeling that you cannot see or touch. So how you figure that?
You know what?
Explain that one,
you
Ryan.
just bring up good points because what you describe as respect, like that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And of course we have our disagreements, but she don't give me no issue. It's like this. She's a pleasure to work with.
Let me ask you this: is she good for your peace, legacy, and your portfolio?
I would say yeah.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. That's what you want. So you don't want to keep moving up the ladder and thinking you're going to get that, because the more you hire, you move up. You think, okay, y'all know I've been doing this work for a long time with these women.
Yeah.
Do you think that the higher you go up, the higher you'll get a woman that doesn't want you for what you have versus who you are? This woman has accepted you for who you are and where you are. Even when you guys may not even know where this was going to go, but she was riding with you. And you constantly elevate with the essence of what her femininity is. She is in a posture, not only is she receiving from you, but she's giving to you. It's something that it allows a woman to just, not just create, but to give. Now, people think that just because you say feminine, oh my God, it's just, how she dresses, her etiquette, that don't have anything to do with femininity. But it's what she's being to you that you cannot touch, that you can only feel. That's what true femininity is. It's not these other things. It's not anything that can be purchased at the beauty supply store. Eyelashes, all that foolishness, it's not that. It's exactly what you're experiencing right now that you're contemplating now. But I promise you, for someone that has been doing this for a long time, the higher you go up, you're not going to get that. Because of who you've become. Why do you think so many of the men that I work with a lot of your favorite celebrities, right? They have a hard time connecting with a woman because they don't know, is she there for me or just for what I've accomplished? Then you're going to end up lonely like a lot of them. Then you're going to be on your third or fourth marriage calling me, talking about, Miss April, what did I do? I'm like, you should have chose that girl that was good for your peace, legacy, and portfolio before you became that guy, because she's actually holding you down and she's partly responsible for who you are becoming.
Wow.
So just because you can't say, how did this help my bank account? Oh, I see all the ways that it helps your bank account. It's just not the labor. And people are used to women laboring. Femininity is not about physical labor. It's about being what we are. And then you come into our feminine layer. You come into our fantasy world. We fill you back up, and then you go back out, and then you become something. Then you come back in, and you need to be filled up again. And that's how you are continually being motivated, which causes you to should cause you to want to take care of the very entity that is causing you to be able to put that battery in your back to keep going. That's where a lot of men miss it, because they're looking at, well, she didn't dunk no hoops when Magic Johnson,
Kobe. She wasn't shooting
not
in the
Kobe.
gym.
What's his name? Michael Jordan, when he got a divorce and she got all that money. Why she get all the money? She wasn't doing that. Oh no, but she was. She didn't make one hoop. I promise you. There's a lot that woman did behind the scenes when he wanted to quit. She was the battery in his back. She was the inspiration. She was the one that was good for his peace, legacy, and portfolio. She was the one that was, babe, do this way, not this way. She was those side mirrors. Don't give up your side mirrors because of who you're becoming, because the higher you go up, I'm telling you, they're not gonna like this, but these women whack, child. They don't have it. They don't have it. So if you got one, I would say lock her in.
Now here's a big thing
I'm
too.
just saying.
Okay.
Because Ryan gets some one-on-one coaching.
Right.
So a big part of what I see a lot of guys do when you talk about the fear of ladies invest in all this, we've seen a lot of celebrities make this move where it seems like they have one woman, they ride with her, and they get a woman who even seems to be way more beautiful. Like you see like the Kevin Hart, right? How he gets a whole nother woman who's a whole different beauty standard, a whole different woman he couldn't get before. So I think a lot of it has to do with attraction too, because men are such physical creatures. You know, if they're making those, decisions with their eyes and what they want, the attraction has a lot to do with that. So I guess, this is a tough one. But how do you feel about attraction? Do you feel like you can actually be attracted to this woman for the rest of your life?
Why you choose her anyway?
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't know. Well, that's a hard question. I don't see, because guys, depending on where you were, that was probably that's the most attractive woman you could have got.
Okay.
Then stay single until you become that man, so that you can get the type of woman that you want. Don't use somebody and all of her feminine essence to level up on, to just throw her to the side.
I agree
She
with
should be
that.
good for where you are and where you're going, but that depends on what character traits that man is looking for beyond a look. Because we do see men that chose women like Magic Johnson. He's been with Cookie for a long time, but he chose a woman that was good for where he was and where he was going. So it's up to you to vet to see if those women or that woman have the characteristics of a woman that you can see for the long term, which means you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision beyond today. You have to see, okay, I'm here right now, but in the next 20 years, this is where I'm supposed to be. What type of woman at this stage, at the infancy stage of where I am I going to need when I get there? There are women that have those traits and that will ride with you. And it's up to you to decide. But a lot of men they don't know their intrinsic values. So they're choosing women based on, okay, because I'm a man, I have this money, I have this influence, I have this power, I should be able to get this. But then as someone who works with these men, and I work with a lot of politicians, rappers, actors, the whole nine, especially my politicians, they're on their third and fourth marriage. And when we get to talk, I find out that they chose a woman that was good for where they were. And they just needed a body to fill a space in that moment. She's good for my arm, she's good for business, but, and I say this, most men who are successful spent all of their time becoming successful, and they never develop their own relationship capital outside of their penis, their pockets, and their ability to protect. They don't know anything else. So while you are looking at these women, I will ask, what's your relationship capital outside of what you can do? Outside of your bank account, outside of the fact that, okay, you can protect. Well, we don't need protection all the time because y'all not with us all the time. So you can't protect us 24 hours a day. So what else do you have that qualifies you to say, okay, I'm becoming more successful, I should be able to maybe get another woman up here. But if you took all the success, the money, the assets away, who is Ryan? And would a woman want you outside of those things?
So that's good, because I think about that. When I started this is where I need help at, because when I started tabulating those things about the things I could bring to a relationship with that was exclusive of my resources, status, anything, I started to really look at that, and I'm like, man, I started to think, who is going to help a woman like this? Like, this is unusual. Like, I'm looking at all aspects of your life. Coming in, being very patient, helping you to come to the, decision that you're most comfortable with. I'm spending, very structured time in how we develop our relationship intimately and that quality time, but also how we develop intellectually and spiritually. So I started to get, and I still have it, I'm working on it, started to get a big head, like, and ain't nobody gonna do this for you.
Well, that is basic, Ryan.
Is it?
What you just said is real basic.
Are guys doing that?
Mature men know this.
But that's the thing. That's true.
Then this is not.
But it's a small percentage, right?
No, it depends on the type of men that a woman chooses to deal with. So we only see what we are privy to, that we have proximity to. Everything you said is normal for a mature man that wants a woman. Now, you're younger. I'm getting ready to be 50. So with that, I've experienced what you said. That's regular and have been regular in my relationships. Like, I loved a man that could teach me something. I love the masculine containership. So that was regular when a man has evolved and developed. So baby, what you just said, it was beautiful. But that's that basic, because the thing is, she's doing the same for you, and she could have the big head because she's doing the same for you in the areas that you need. But what she would be doing would still be being what the feminine woman is. So, and this requires you to dive deeper to see, who am I outside of what I can do? Who am I being as a man? Not just to her, but as a whole.
Right.
Who am I being? And I think that's where men don't necessarily get it, because I feel like this is the most beautiful time in history for men. Because now you can develop, well, you can, I won't say develop. Men complain about women being gold diggers, but this is the time to show that you're more than a wallet, you're more than your sexual organs, and you're more than protection. What else are you? Because women now, we can take care of ourselves, we protect ourselves. Women, they've been abstaining, and we got toys and everything. What else do you bring as a man outside of what you've been taught? And that's where, with my clients, we have to dive deep. Because their whole existence is, I believe I'm a high value man. I'm like, no, baby, you're a high earning man. You're not high value yet. Because the value comes from the intrinsic, the inside. Your value is derived from the extrinsic. So that's why you think you should have the best women. You should have, all the best treatment. Well, I got the money. We do too.
That's true. That's very true. A lot of times more.
That's
more.
a fact.
You're like, we drive nice cars. I do too. We got portfolios. I do too. So what can you bring to a woman's life that money cannot buy? That's the golden question. And I try to do my best to help y'all with that, with the with her, his invisible value, because I think men are missing it. But I think once you get that, I can be that man that have these extrinsic values and have the success, but I can be this man over here that know what true leadership is, that know what true communication is, that know what empathy is. And I can also, I'm a man that understands what femininity is and how to implement my masculinity in it, and not understand that femininity is not reserved for me, because most of y'all think a woman's femininity is for you, and it's not. Our femininity has nothing to do with you. We gift it to you. And the gift that this woman has been giving you has caused you to continue to rise. So it's a gift for us to give that piece of us to you. So I believe that women should be valued more when they realize what the invisible value is. And so that's why I had to really take this route, because I'm seeing everybody's arguing, but everybody's experiencing the other's value, but nobody knows how to articulate it. Women think the value is from, I can cook and clean, and I can make a house a home. Hell, he can hire somebody for that.
Right.
Men value, I can provide and I can protect. And okay, well, we do that now too. What else? And I think once we dive into what our value is intrinsically, we'll be better.
Let me ask you this, because it seems like one of the biggest arguments you see online, in the petty relationship space online.
The petty relationship space.
That's what I'm
Right.
starting to call it, because you just see all these little arguments happening all the time. You see how people are always attacking women's ability to make decisions, right? Y'all like dealing with these Pookies, these Ray Rays. And in private, a lot of our ladies just generally, to be honest, they are not making a lot of the best decisions, and decisions that they're proud of with some of the men that they've been with.
Okay.
Now, help me understand this, because is it that men are truly this conniving narcissist that those women will usually accuse them of being while they make those decisions? Or are women's discernment of men, their character, and what they should be bringing, that invisible value, is it non-existent? Which one is it?
And let me ask both of you this question. Have you ever slept with a woman that you knew you weren't going to be with?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Did you soften her up with your words? Take her out? Make her feel special?
Yes.
The way she wanted to feel in order for her to be willing to release the cookies? Have you done that?
It depends. I've done both.
Okay, so are you both narcissists?
No.
And okay, I'm asking you that based on what you said.
I don't think I'm a narcissist.
Okay, this is why I asked. When people think about women's decision making, and people want to always hold women accountable for their decision making, which is our decision, right? Every time I hear someone talk about the type of men women choose, they always talk about the Pookies and the Ray Rays. Do you think women are out here just picking Pookies and Ray Rays, and the men are in the mind with the sagging pants, and are y'all that? No, but you just said you did exactly what you're accusing the women of doing with Pookie and Ray Ray. Y'all dress nice, you look nice, and you know what to say. I know you got a mouthpiece. So if you're doing that and you look like respectable men, do you think a woman wants to intentionally be with a man that's just trying to run one on her? No. It's y'all's ability to say what you need to say, make us feel what we need to feel, be consistent long enough until you get what you want. So we have to take this vision of women make wrong decisions and it equals a Pookie or Ray Ray when they can look like you two.
That's true.
Right? Because we think that, like, for instance, people think ratchet, oh, she ratchet. And they think the girl with the red hair and the Keisha and all of them, right? Nah, you have corporate ratchet chicks that work at the bank, that work at in corporate America. You have them just like you have corporate deadbeat men. You have men with the jobs, with the cars, with the success, with the college educated that are deadbeats as well too. So we can't just put it in this context of women make the wrong decisions picking Pookies and Ray Rays, because every nice guy thinks he's really that guy. And we hate nice guys. I despise a nice guy, because nice guys are only nice until y'all get what you want. I like a kind man. So you know how to be nice to this girl to get her to soften her boundaries, to say what she needs to hear. Y'all know how to do that. But does that make you the same Pookie and Ray Ray?
Not I think about
I'm just asking a question,
I
honey.
definitely serve my bid as a Pookie and Ray Ray at some point.
Rah and Tata.
Right, exactly.
I'm just curious.
That's the old me. That's the old me.
Okay.
All right, I've changed quite a bit. Break the blueprint down then, because if I'm trying to put a woman, on game, I'm talking to my daughter.
Okay.
She's in the dating space. I want to educate her on how to see past this, right? Because I think ladies are easily deceived by a great conversation. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I literally was on the phone with one of my initiates the other day, and she was asking me this very same question. She was literally saying, Ty, I met this guy. I was in Jamaica. We were, I was at a speaking engagement, and he was a Jamaican brother, first of all.
Oh, so he had the mouthpiece.
oh, bro, first off, the Jamaican brother, something different. But he said, look, he a Jamaican brother. And it was like this whirlwind experience. Like we was out there. She said, oh, Ty, she stayed on his conversation. Oh, my goodness. It got deep. He was a man of faith. He was a man of God.
He was lying.
We talked about she said, and then, and then she mentioned it. She tried to breathe past it. She was like, yeah, and then we was in my room talking. And I was, whoa.
Wow.
I was like, so y'all was in the room. She was like, yeah, it got kind of hot and this and that, but we didn't do nothing. She said we didn't do nothing, but I told him no, and he said I'm gonna let you go to sleep because I know you got XYZ going on. But what she was explaining to me and asking me, here's what the question was.
That's cap.
She said, Ty, because the conversation was so good, and we had all of this chemistry. Now that I'm in the States, right? Is this somebody that that really has some potential? Like, what do you think? And I understand that when a woman meets a man who's charismatic, who can speak, who can make her laugh, don't let him talk about some God, and let y'all have any level of faith-based chemistry, connection, and alignment. He almost can do no wrong at this point. So what does a woman really look for past all of those things that typically most people will tell her makes this a great man?
She needs to be connected to her own femininity, spirituality, sensuality, and wisdom. That's the GPS. See, women get caught up in the words. See, what I find is women who live in a place of lack and don't have men, quality men, coming after them consistently, they fall for this kind of foolishness.
Wow.
right? Because I can literally, and my daughter can attest, we can literally sit down and all of that she experienced, had a wonderful time with this man and Kiki, and be like, okay, bet. Because he didn't do anything. He didn't prove that he deserved me. He has not earned anything. He has not shown me who he was as a man, what he believes, what he stands for. He didn't show that he had leadership ability. He showed that he could communicate, but he was speaking to the broken, more part of her that was craving that attention. And she allowed herself to go with it. That's on her. He was doing what he was supposed to do to get whatever it is he was trying to get, because fundamentally relationships are transactional. So he knew, he already spotted her weaknesses. He already spotted, oh, I have her attention. Men can always spot their prey.
Yep.
So he knew it wasn't going to take much. And then she didn't tell you what she was sharing with him. She might have shared her whole life. Yeah, I went through some abuse. I went through this and I got cheated on. Oh, bet. And he just sitting there like, yes, all I got to do is make her feel a particular way. So I believe it's up to a woman to be grounded in her femininity, spirituality. Spirituality is the GPS. Femininity comes with boundaries. Right? She was in her sensuality because she was experiencing all of the 5 senses, right? But she wasn't using wisdom to see, all right, this felt good. Like you can go on a date and have a wonderful time, but that don't mean this the one. That just means in this moment, I had a wonderful time. Based on what my standards are, this person hasn't met that. They just made me feel a thing. But most women do not have standards outside of 6 feet, 6 figures, more than 6 inches in a 6-pack, and go longer than 6 minutes. That's typically what it is.
Right.
But
that's the combo pack.
The combo. But there's typically no substance behind the standards. So she just got played, and now she think about this man over in Jamaica, and he's just
brought him all the way back to the U.S. Think about him. Get on the phone thinking about him talking to you.
Absolutely.
And now he getting ready to do it again to somebody else that come over from the States, because he knows he can. But women lack wisdom and awareness, and it's so disheartening that in 2025, I have to say this, that women lack womanly wisdom and they lack awareness. They are, I would say, they're intellectually intelligent when it comes to academics. Yeah. But when it comes to womanly wisdom and understanding how men function, they are bankrupt. And so we're dealing with this, and it's like, well, what do I do? I'm like, girl, how is it you walk around here? I'm a boss chick, and I make $250,000, and I drive my Range Rover and all that. But you crying on my phone because of some man that you didn't have a standard with, treated you a particular way. Put that degree over here and be that smart girl over here, the same way you got it over here. What's the problem? It's because we've been taught to spend so much time being educated and being successful in the marketplace, that the very thing that women crave the most, which is the love of a man, she has put no effort into that. He should just, well, because I'm pretty and I have a vagina and I can make a house a home and I can do tongue tricks and I can bear his children. So what does that mean? Every woman says that. We are in Atlanta. It's beautiful women everywhere. You got to have more than pretty. What value do you bring to a man's life? Most women don't know that. How do you become an asset to his life? In exchange for what you want from him, what does he get from you that he cannot get from everybody else? That's where we're missing it. So your friend, girl, if you're watching, he played you.
But
I hope you didn't give him none. I hope you didn't give him none.
You know,
I mean, he was in the hotel room, so I think we can draw our own conclusions on that.
It got kind of crazy, but you made a point because he's speaking to a woman that has been deprived of something. I talk to so many women, and they just like, yo, I can't even find a good conversation.
Because they're not good conversations.
Wow.
See, most women are boring. Now, ladies, y'all know I love y'all. Y'all know I'm for the men and for the women, so I'm gonna give this disclaimer. But most women are boring. Most women go to school, they'll go to work, they might be taking some classes to go to school. If they have kids, their life revolves around their kids, and they go to church. Would you want to be a part of that life?
Not that they're not doing anything outside of that.
That makes sense.
So how can you say I can't have a decent conversation when you're not even interesting? Why would somebody want to have a conversation?
Listen, tell him that too. Because
that goes for the men
that
too.
Goes for the
It
men
does.
too.
Oh yeah, that goes for the men too. Because I've sat and had conversations with men. I'm like, so tell me, what do you do for fun? Oh, well, I just go to work. Oh, that means you're gonna want me to sit around and watch TV with you all the time. And I like to get out and go and do things. So it's all about the man and the woman, men and women being interesting and being interesting and being interested in who you're sitting across from.
Right.
Most people don't even know how to ask questions to pull out information because they're not paying attention. Anytime I would go out, I would always study the man that I was with. I would find that little boy. So, because I knew if I could find his little boy, that's who I would be dealing with the most.
Wait, what is the little boy?
The hurt part of who he is. I had a quote, and the women, they lost their mind, and we always got to do the work. I said, if you heal the little boy within him, the man that you want will show up. I didn't mean do anything. I meant be exactly what that girl is being to you. Just being, and it causes you to heal because the presence, whether it's the presence of a man or a woman, becomes the healing. You start feeling like home with that individual. So I study people. Anybody that I'm with, I'm like, okay, let me see the most broken parts of who he is to see if I can handle that. Because we're all broken. Well, yeah, they need to do their healing work. Well, women need to do their healing work too. We don't know what a good man is until one comes in. Just like you guys don't know what the experience of a good woman if you've never experienced one. All of us have something. None of us has to be whole and healed to meet our person. Our person may be coming in as the physical being that orchestrates the healing. But everybody thinks everything has to be all I's dotted and all T's crossed, and it doesn't. So with women, most women are boring. Getting back to that. They don't have anything to talk about. So I hear women all the time say, I can't get a good conversation because you're not a good conversationalist, because you're not paying attention to him. You ask them, you always sit back and let y'all talk. Y'all gonna tell us everything we need to know about you. But women don't know the right question to ask. They're gonna ask, so what do you do for a living? What's your plans in the next 5 years? Do you love God? Are you a God-fearing man?
That's probably number one, right?
Right.
And they don't even know what that means.
And all you got to do is say, yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, he's good.
Yeah, and it's the same basic things. They don't ask questions like, what did you see growing up when it comes to relationships? They don't ask that. They don't ask what the friends around you, what is their view on relationships and marriage? They don't ask questions like, why would your ex say you broke up? They don't ask questions like, how many women have you hurt? How many women have you healed? See, the other stuff is just basic. It's like, you're not going to get to the nitty gritty talking of, are you God-fearing? That's like asking somebody what kind of drink you like at Starbucks. That's not heavy. And a lot of women don't necessarily even know what a God-fearing man is. God-fearing equals he goes to church. Who's leading him? How does he make decisions? Do you know his decision-making process? Is he a man that can make decisions quickly and they be precise? Does he have a plan A, B, and C, and they all get you to the same place? They don't know to ask those questions. I just need to know, will he make a good father? Does he love God? Does he participate in the men's ministry at church? Child. Most women that say this stuff has been hurt by the same men that they have this criteria for.
In men's ministry.
Right.
So it's like, girl, go deeper. But and I say this to the men as well, go deeper. Stop just looking at her beauty and her booty and her beauty. What else does she have? How does she align with your future? And I said it before, relationships are transactional. People don't like when I say that, but they are. Men are very transactional. The women that you both are now seeing, you only approach them because of what they look like. And you made a decision in that moment that in exchange for her beauty, she's beautiful enough or attractive enough to me for me to spend money to take her out. That's the freaking transaction. Wow. Her beauty in exchange for dinner. Now you get to know her. But when was the last time you walked up to a woman that you didn't find attractive? You don't even see them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You don't even see them.
I used to feel bad about that.
I did too.
But now it's like, it's kind of is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I believe we need to accept that relationships fundamentally are transactional. Y'all don't like to think so because that sounds like prostitution. Is she only trying to get a free meal? Well, you're only trying to look at it from across the table.
Right.
Yep.
You're trying to find the lowest barrier of entry to the sex.
So if a walk or work, that's what we doing.
Exactly.
If it take dinner,
That's what we're doing. And then depending on the level of the woman, she might require too much, and then you just gonna ghost and be like, that requires too much for me to get what I'm trying to extract from her. But people don't like to see it that way because they think transaction, money in exchange. But it could be money, it could be energy, it could be a feeling. Like I said, when a man proposes to a woman, it's based off the feeling he's getting from her. Well, love should be unconditional. No, there's conditions. Even God has conditions. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, then I will. The then I will is the transaction. So are we more moral than God that we don't have conditions? That's where this delusion comes in, and people don't really look at what they're asking for, and they don't become what they're actually asking for. So I just believe that relationships are transactional, and fair exchange is no robbery. In exchange for my feminine experience, I expect you to provide for me.
Understood.
Yeah.
I want to get your perspective on a couple more things because we had Tony Gaskins on the show a couple times.
Okay.
And one of the things that I want to speak to you about that he stated was you got these men who are 40 plus, and he's saying those men are pretty much behind the 8 ball in terms of finding them a woman to settle down with. Now, the men in particular he was speaking about is the man who was 40 plus that amassed, a considerable amount of success. Now, he's saying that a lot of issue with those men is that they weren't always him, right? So they might have been, kind of on the scrubbish side of things when they was coming up, but now they finally got the resources and the status. And now the reason they haven't settled down is because they're waiting on that perfect girl, or really this woman
experiencing these options that they now have.
Yeah, but he was particularly saying, I think, that they're waiting on like this extra, the woman that has everything. And he's saying those men can't get those women because they're not really him, internally, And I wanted to ask you, what are your general thoughts about that? Is that true that they're this group of men who are, I guess, kind of lame, but they got these resources and status, but, like what is that they're missing to get that woman that they waiting on, if that makes sense?
Well, to be honest with you, most men are lame.
Okay.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Whether he has money or whether he doesn't, and the reason why I say that is because men don't develop becoming attractive. And when I say attractive, I'm not talking about aesthetically.
Yeah.
So most men are lame. That like a lot of the nice guys what they do is they end up in part of these like blue, green, purple pill communities because they did not develop character, personality, communication. They didn't, their hairlines be messed up. They didn't do anything to make themselves like attractive physically and internally. And so they get mad because it's like, well, don't nobody want me. Well, what you want to talk about? Anime? Like, what are we doing?
Okay.
So they did not develop themselves. But to your question.
So even with the money, they still having the same issue.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'll say. Because I would say 95% of my clients are multimillionaires and very successful men. I've had the privilege of getting to see a side that most women probably would not respect. And not because it's anything bad. Most of those men are actually Clark Kent. They're not Superman behind closed doors. And when you see them as Superman consistently on your TV, in your communities, right? There's another side to that. He's Clark Kent probably 85 to 90% of the time, and we only get to see that small percentage of Superman. That's the man that the women fall for. One client in particular, I remember, because what I do is my clients, because they are men of means, I know they're not going to do nothing because they don't want to lose their money. So I don't have a problem when they fly me out so that I can sit there and we can go through our sessions. One in particular, he flew me to Houston and megastar, know him first name basis, right? And so we were having this conversation about women. And I'm trying to figure out how in the heck with your sexy self do you have issue with women? So I just let him talk and I listen. And I figured it out very quickly. What he presents to the world is not who he is behind closed doors. When I say he was a nerd on a whole nother level.
Wow.
And I said, sweetheart, why don't you let women see that part of you? And a lot of it has to do with, will I be accepted if I show you that what I do for the world, I love that. That's a part of who I am. But this is also a part of who I am as well. Now, on the flip side, women don't like Clark Kent for a long, extended period of time.
That's a fact. Thank you for saying that.
Okay?
Keeping it real.
Right.
They don't. So when he was telling me about some situations, she's waiting on him. She's ready for the life. She's ready for the boom, bang, pow. But he's not that guy. When I was there, you know what he did? And I was just like, April, just go with the flow. He brought out this foot bath. And he put these things in it. You know those foot baths that take all the toxins out your feet?
Yeah.
He did that. But when you see him, you wouldn't even think.
Like, what are you doing?
Right. So he had a performance one night, and I went. And I was in the green room, and I was watching because I dive in with my clients, whether it's male or female. I want to be a part of their world to see how they function, how they process. So I went to this performance, and I was in, before we got to the performance, he had to go rehearse. So I'm there, and he said, "I'm glad you came." I said, "Yeah, I want to see your world. I want to see how you transition from this megastar to, you know, the guy that you become the moment you get off the stage." So I needed to see the transition. We're in rehearsal, he's doing his thing, but I noticed every time, like the producers he was telling them what they wanted to do, he was looking at me but talking to them. And I didn't understand that. And I'm like, okay. So he's talking, but he's looking for what? My approval. As we go back, after he goes, I'm in the green room watching the performance. But before I went to the green room, I was sitting in the audience, and like, you better sing, you better tell these people. Like, I'm the hype woman, right? We get to the green room, and he's sweaty and whatnot, and he just grabs me and gives me this hug. And he said, "Thank you." I'm like, "For what?" He said, "Just thank you." And it didn't click until later on. Going back to our coaching sessions, he explained to me how he was never good enough for his mother. And every time he would sing, every time he would open his mouth, his mom would always find something to complain about or tell him he wasn't good enough at. So when he shared all of this, it made everything in that moment make sense. I'm there as a representation, not even realizing it, of your mother. And you are having this conversation, and I'm like, yeah, whatever he said, do that. Yeah, he said, make the lights go like that. So as he's talking, I am validating his decision-making in that moment. That hug was, you see me. I stood in that gap at that moment. And I'm like, okay, now it makes sense why he moves the way that he does. These are the things that women don't want to have to dive into. They just want the man to just show up and know everything. And I believe we also put more on you than we should, that things that you should know that you don't. Well, he should know this. He should know that. Who taught him that?
Right.
But April, let me ask you. So who's in the wrong here? Should women have accepted him where he was and helped build him, or should he have healed that before he tried to bring women into his space?
Nobody's wrong, because you don't know what's going to trigger you until that person comes into your life. So he may not even known that part needed to be healed, because it could have been suppressed for decades. And as a woman that operates in the feminine, we know the type of man that is open enough for us, our presence, to help facilitate his healing process. We don't just stick around and say, "I'm gonna heal you." No, it's let me see how open he is, because my femininity and my wisdom is my GPS. So I can kind of see, okay, he's open. All right, he's never experienced a woman that made him feel seen. Okay, I can handle that. I can make him feel seen. He's never experienced a woman that makes him feel hurt. Let me listen to him. I can do that. Now, if it's something where it's like traumatic, oh no, I can't handle that. That's when the wisdom says, I'm not equipped and I don't have it in me to do that. But the thing is, women need the same thing. I need the same thing. I don't know what's going to trigger me and, with a man. And I remember being in a situation and I was dating someone, and I had to learn to decipher fear from intuition, because fear and intuition feel the same. So I had to learn this process of, okay, am I running because he's doing something, or am I running because, I'm scared? Or is there something that really going on? So what I would do is say, all right, I would list the things. Is he abusing you? No. Is he talking down to you? No. Is he doing anything to make you feel uncomfortable? No. Or is it your fear of you've never been loved properly, and this is new. So in my book, Identity Switch, I talk about Jessica. So since we're talking to the fellas, I'll call him James. James is the subconscious mind that is packed with all of your previous experiences. So the moment you say, okay, I'm ready to be in a relationship, if you are a person that didn't feel worthy, a person that was rejected, a person that did not feel wanted, even a person coming towards you, your subconscious is going to try to get you back to the place of this is green, this is red light, stop, this is a red flag, because your subconscious mind has not been wired with good loving. It has not been wired on a consistent basis of it being natural for someone to desire you. So now everything that person do, he didn't call back. Okay, yeah, he probably out here with her, and she didn't call back. Okay, she probably with the next man because she think he got more than me, and she don't want to hold her brother down, and she was asleep. So the subconscious mind is wired with all of your trauma. So when I hear people always say, "Yeah, I was a red flag. He was a narcissist. She was a narcissist," let me hear your past first, because your past is wired with that. That's why it's so important to know how to decipher the two, because they feel so familiar. But I would go through this list because after my divorce, I remember I was dating this guy and he tried to hold my hand, child, and my stomach turned. Like, wow. Here's the thing though. I was dating 2 men at the same time. One would have been perfect. The other, he was that roller coaster ride that I was used to. So when this one held my hand, now I went to, where was I? I was somewhere in Atlanta on the Beltline. We went somewhere and we were holding hands. Now, when the toxic one held my hand, I felt right at home. I'm like, cool. You know, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool guy. But he really wasn't, because he wasn't showing up like he was supposed to. He wasn't as consistent. Because I look at 5 things: effort, pattern, actions, consistency, and words all lining up. His wasn't, but I felt safe there. Now, the other guy, he was totally in alignment with that. I told him I was going to the doctor one day. I said, hey, my something going on with my tire. He said, send me your location. He left his job, came to my doctor's appointment, was waiting for me outside, took my car. I followed him to get my tire changed. He got my tire changed, a new tire, gave me a kiss, and headed on back to work.
Wow.
I wasn't used to that. So I chose Toxic 3000 over here, right? But if we are not wired, rewire ourselves. And I had to learn, my way of learning to get through that was, if I assessed that a man was not doing me any harm, I would sit in the emotional pain that came with change. And it felt weird. I felt like I was going to throw up all the time. It's like, one day I like you, but the moment you got close to me, I'm like, I had to sit in that. I had to let that man hold my hand. I had to, even though I was uncomfortable, because he was a good man. And I had to rewire my system to be okay with receiving that. So.
Oh, you was toxic.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I was
belt line too. That's high profile these days. With the belt line with the with the dude, toxic dude.
No, but I say toxic is because, like, in that situation, it's almost like you throw up when you try to eat fruits and vegetables. You know, like your palate,
the good stuff,
is not even able to take in what's really good for you. Like, I need me a nice, wet, juicy burger. And that's what I need. You know, I'm still happy that you acknowledged the reality that the ladies don't like seeing no Clark Kent.
Oh yeah.
For too long, because I think it's very easy for the ladies to want to just curl up into a ball on you and just kind of be that little broken little girl. And kind of, as men, we just kind of know, you know, it's a woman. It's just kind of what deals with being a woman. She gets to act out. She gets to cry. You know, you get to see these sides of her, you know, and it could be that time of the month. We create all type of excuses for why her version of Clark Kent is okay, or that broken girl in her is okay. But with a man, we don't necessarily feel comfortable, just as my brother did, showing these other sides of ourselves. So I'm going to let you talk to the ladies on this one, because I could have talked to either one. How do they identify the difference between a weak man that is inadequate to be with? Because I think that's a bit of what they can sense. Like, oh no, like they get turned off by this version of this man. How can they decipher between a weak, unqualified man and a man who's just genuinely vulnerable, and this is a weakness that you should be taking on to heal in him?
She won't be able to do that for him or herself until she takes the time to embrace her femininity, spirituality, sensuality, and wisdom. Those are my 4 core pillars. In order for a woman to be open enough to even identify any of those things, she has to have done some inner work within herself, mainly in her femininity space. Femininity is like, y'all kind of young. Y'all might not remember this. You remember the Microsoft disk, and it came with Word, Excel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, then I'm not that young. So in that disk, imagine that one disk with Microsoft Suite on it. Imagine that as femininity. Inside of that disk comes all of these different applications that go with this suite. That's what femininity is. Spirituality comes out of there because you have to go sit and be still. Boundaries come out of there because the moment you cross over the boundary, your whole body feels a certain way. You're right. Wisdom on how to move and what to say, who should get pieces of me and who should not, when to leave a situation. All of that comes with this suite of femininity software. But women won't sit down long enough to really engage with that because it requires you to be stripped away of everything. So before you can even enter a man's life and help with those things, you have to even have it within yourself. It took me years. Starting after I had to call off my wedding is when it started in 2015. It was started in 2014, but when I had to call off the wedding, I really dove deep in like, okay, what is up with me? Why am I making this decision? What is it? And I started dealing with those things. Now, I didn't mean that I wasn't dating during the time because I don't feel like I have to isolate to learn myself, because the men that came around that I may have gone out with, they were instrumental in helping me uncover certain things about myself. It was, okay, I've did a little enough work to where I recognize this. I don't want that anymore, and let that alone. But you cannot be a part of a man's life and help him in the way that I suggest, or know what man is receptive to your being, because you're not doing anything to him. You're not telling him to go to therapy. You're not trying to get him to read a book. You're not trying to do those things. He sees that in you and he wants more. But if you're not those things that you mentioned, how? So that's why I say a woman's job is to be these things, not to perform these things. Right now, and what we hear on the internet is performative femininity. That's what we see. I started this whole femininity conversation on a larger scale in 2014-15 when I went viral on World Star Hip Hop. That's where the conversation started. And then they've taken it and then turned it into something that I had not anticipated, because the wisdom, the spirituality is not there to carry this conversation to go deeper. So now it's anytime, now from here on out, when you pay attention, anytime you hear about femininity, pay attention to what they're equating it to. They always include the man in it. You seldomly hear people talk about femininity that excludes a man. When you say, how can she help a man? What did I say? She has to help herself. It has nothing to do with you. Her presence, a woman's presence, can heal you. But how can she do that if she hasn't taken the time to figure out why she's the way she is, why she thinks the way she is? Everything we've been taught to be as a woman was given to us by men, whether it's been government, religion. Well, God gave that to them. Well, God is considered a he. So everything is given to us through the perspective of a man. The idea of modesty comes from men. The woman in the Bible that was getting ready to be stoned for committing adultery, well, who the heck was she with? Why didn't they go after him too? Who was the married one? We don't know, right? So women, their whole identity was created by men to serve men, not realizing they have their own autonomy, and we gift ourselves to men. But women would rather learn how to gift themselves to a man than to gift themselves to themselves. I always say a woman who is broke does not function in her femininity. Broke women do not function in their femininity, because femininity is creative, and you use 85% of your femininity and 15% of your masculinity to execute the ideas you got while you were sitting still and resting in your femininity. Why do you think men go to the strip club to have business meetings? You think it's for some TNA? No, that creative money sexual, sensual energy is everywhere. They can go there and get wings only and some drinks, have a multi-million-dollar business meeting in the strip club. Don't give a girl $1 because that feminine creative energy is there. That's why I say no woman should be broke, because if you tap into those 4 things before you try to help a man, your femininity can pay you in 2 ways. It's either you're going to get that download while you are resting, while you are cultivating your life, while you are being what you need to be to you first, and you're going to get an idea, and like I said, you'll be able to execute that. Or the feminine experience that you bring to a man's life, it makes him want to take care of you. So you should not ever have an issue with money if you're doing one of those 2 things. I prefer the one where he take care of me, child. because I know what he's getting in exchange, and I value my feminine exchange and feminine experience the same way you guys value your money, because I'm the magic, I'm the battery in your back. And that level you want to go to, you ain't going there without me. And the moment I remove my magic from you, you don't know what to do. So imagine that if women understood the value that we had to you, men would act differently, because it's like, wait a minute, my life is not the same with her in it, and it's definitely not the same, with her out of it. But if all you're offering as a woman is your looks and your vagina, and I can cook and clean, and I got a degree, and I have my own car, and I got good credit, and I own my own house, that doesn't do anything to the very thing that they're trying to accomplish. And it's the same thing for men. If you want a woman that you consider high value, you have to come with more than money and protection.
It's just so crazy that you mentioned about the power of femininity, because when you think about, the best artists, whether it's music, fashion, art, they all have muses, all have female muses. And especially the designers, they would literally have certain women just be around.
Yeah, and she's not doing anything.
Not doing anything.
She's just
around.
And that's the power of a feminine woman. And to be honest with you, the world wouldn't be where it is with all the chaos we have going on if we had feminine women in positions. We don't. The world is missing the feminine essence. She's slowly trying to rise up, and I believe she really started trying to rise up in 2020 when the pandemic happened. Femininity causes you to go within. Femininity thrives in darkness. Think about when you are having your most vulnerable time. It's typically at night when you're up thinking. Femininity causes you to have to go within during those times. We don't want to do that because it's scary in there. And we have to really deal with who we really are. And we might not like what we actually see. We might not like that, you know what, I'm really not that guy. I really am trash. Like the things that I've done to women, I really am trash. But I present like I'm not.
Right.
She could be a woman that says, you know what, I really don't know who I am. I'm really a manipulative, mean woman. And I pretend that I'm something else. So people don't like to go in there inside of their feminine space because of what it requires of you. Femininity requires you to be in darkness.
Most people have no idea how to plan a date that builds connection. With 100 engaging dating cards, skip the small talk and get straight to the real conversation. Let's take the dating game to the next level. Click the link in the description and use discount code CLIPS for 10% off.
Which is why your lives change when a feminine woman comes in. That's why men say, I want a feminine woman.
Right.
Because they understand the intrinsic, invisible value of that, even though they can't articulate it. So I use mine, and I put a value on it just as a man would with $1 billion. It's the same thing.
I want to ask you. Go ahead.
Because I want to. This has been sitting on my brain for a while, because I do want to talk about what the men want.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to beauty standards. So because we have conversations with groups of ladies. Sometimes we might run into some that watch the show or our own ladies that we date in our lives. And the beauty standard comes into question all the time, especially because if we sending each other little clips and stuff like that on TikTok or Instagram. And the conversation comes up, hey, do women like or do men like natural hair or weave?
Yeah.
Do men like no makeup or makeup? Do men like natural bodies or enhanced BBL bodies? And my typical response is, hey, you know what? I like natural hair. Hey, I like little to no makeup. Hey, I like a natural body. And then somehow it always comes around to, oh, okay, do you like this girl? I'm like, yeah, she no makeup, no wig, she's nice body. Well, nope, she got a BBL. Nope, she got light makeup. This kind of nope, you can't see it, but she got these tracks. And now I'm getting accused of me not knowing what I want because you don't know what weave look like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know if it's a pop quiz or what the right answer to this is. So help me out. What is it? Because you speak to these men, you know. Thousands of them at this point.
Yeah.
What is it that men are communicating to you that they like in terms of beauty standard?
Well, men like everything.
Okay.
You know, and so I don't believe there's a child. What
That's
I tell
so
you,
true.
men like
so
everything.
true.
But then you could get, you know, but I think that confuses too. So why do you go and like this picture of the girl with the badonkadonk BBL, but then you say you prefer
And why can't I walk around in my sweatpants and my robe and my hair pinned up if men like everything?
Exactly.
They do.
So it's total confusion.
So here's the thing. When it comes to beauty standards, like beauty matters. I'm never going to tell anybody, and I tell my female clients, that's what, girl, we're not going to act like pretty doesn't matter. Pretty privilege is a currency.
Absolutely.
I'm very aware. Pretty gets you in the door, but it's your character integrity and the feminine experience that you bring that keeps you there. So when it comes to beauty standards, I believe women give y'all too much power when it comes to that. Like, I feel like, and this is just April Mason philosophy, when a man comes in contact with you and he cannot shake your energy and you might not be aesthetically what he's used to, he ain't going nowhere. Prime example, I was dating a guy, I'm 5'3", he's 6'5", and he always dated women like 5'10", 5'11", or whatnot. And so we had dinner one night and we just started talking, and he just, when I walked in the restaurant, he said, "Don't you start that ish that you do." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "That thing that you do." I said, "What is the thing that I do?" And so now we were talking about, you know, past relationships and things and type of women. He said, "Yeah, I typically date women this height and that height." I said, "Yeah, that's what you typically do, but that's not what you with right now." And he said, "I know. Well, you know, even though I dated tall women." I said, "What?" I said, "What you gonna say? What is it?" I said, "But I'm 5'3". You, like, I don't even come to your chest." I said, "But you always want to pick me up because you say I'm fun size." So now what? He said, "Well, you know, but you got this vibe." So all of a sudden, him, all of his life being an athlete, dating women that were extremely tall, now it's, wait a minute, I'm experiencing something different. Well, he was lighter than I typically date. But I don't typically go on just the aesthetic of a man. I go on, how do you make me feel? He typically went on the aesthetic of the woman. And so I never looked at it as, oh my God, is he going to be walking around here looking at women that's 5'10", 6 foot? No, because I'm that girl. And I got you here. I got your nose wide open because of the feminine experience that I bring. There's something about me that you like, and you love the fact that I know how to talk to you. You love the fact that when I lower my voice and I say, "What did you say? What do you mean?" You love the fact that I see you even when you don't see yourself. You love the fact that I'm the battery in your back. So do you want 5'10", or are you okay with 5'3"? That's why I said men like whatever makes them feel a particular thing.
That's
and
true.
Women get caught up in the look.
Yeah.
Yes, go be pretty. But what I love about being a woman, I love walking in a room knowing ain't nobody in there better than me. I love walking in a room that all eyes are going to be on me. I love walking in a room feeling like there'll always be a woman prettier than me, more money than me, maybe smarter than me, but I'd be damned if there will ever be a woman that's better than me in a room. And when I walk in there and women, especially when I'm in a room with all these beautiful models, those are the ones that come to me in the bathroom crying. I'm dealing with this and that. I'm like, girl, you're beautiful. What are you talking about? But those are the ones that have not developed confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth. That from my male clients, those are the easiest ones to get played. The more
1000%.
beautiful she is, the easier it is for her to be mishandled and mistreated. And it's sad, but she has to create those boundaries. So when it comes to beauty standards, I don't listen to nothing the man says at all. Because you've seen men that are attractive, that by society standard, be the boy, the woman, and you're like, what in the world? It's something that she's doing for him that all of these others are not. That's why when a woman gets cheated on or a man leaves a woman, doesn't even have to be cheating, and she sees the other woman, oh, she's not even as pretty as me. You thought it was just about look? Your look drew him in, but what didn't keep him was the look.
Right.
So women get caught up in that, and I do believe that we do live in a time. When I flew into Atlanta the other day, I told my daughter we were at the Avalon. And I'm like, ooh, child, all of this athleisure wear these women are wearing.
Oh yeah, that's the day Sunday through Saturday.
Yeah, all of this athleisure wear, and I believe that women. There was a day back in the day when you guys didn't get to see how we put it all together. All y'all got to see was the presentation. Nowadays, women have no decorum or even pride in themselves. This is just me. If you do this with your man, girl, that's on you. But I don't believe that your man should see you helping you take your weave out, your braids out. I don't think your man should see that, because what women don't understand is it's the woman that appeals to the man's imagination is the woman that gets him. If he sees everything and how it's put together, you're constantly, subconsciously lessening what I call your ooh la la effect. I wish I would let a man see me putting it all together. All you know is she fine when she showed up. I just don't believe in that. And back in the day, women would have a night routine. They would have a morning routine. They would go to bed dressed nice. They wouldn't just jump into bed looking any old kind of way. And not necessarily for the man, but for her. So everything that I speak, I'm speaking from a perspective of do this for you. And it's natural when a man comes into your life. This is just who you're being. You don't have to, okay, Miss April, what should I wear to bed? What have you been wearing to bed? Oh, that? Well, if that's what you've been wearing to bed, wear it for me and see what happens. See, well, I don't know I just got this shirt. I don't wear lingerie. Well, how about let's start with taking better care of ourselves first. So when a man comes in, you don't have to do it. You have to do all this trying to figure it out because you're her already. So when it comes to beauty standards, y'all like it all, child. I agree with that. Y'all say you don't like the wigs, but then you look at these ladies with all these wigs and all of these lashes. They got 50 million likes from men. Yeah. So I don't. Somebody like it. Now, here's the thing: do they marry that all the time? That's the difference.
That is the biggest difference, because you can like something on Instagram. Yes. You can like something you spending time with. Yeah. But matter of fact, it was a post. It was a guy. He was dancing, and it was like her. She's excited because she says her man don't care what she wear, and then he's dancing, and it's like me. I don't care what she wear because she's not gonna be wifey or something like that. Yeah. But that is a real issue that I think the ladies have. Is like, yo, you like all these things, you out with these women, but why can't I dress like this and be like this, and then you also take me on that level?
Yeah, seriously? Because the women don't want to accept that men are visual. They want to accept. We live in a take me as I am culture.
Oh my
Take
goodness.
me as I am.
Wow. Facts.
Yeah, and the thing is with that, women won't take a man as he is. Now, aesthetically, I would say, men be looking like they're about 72 months pregnant and carrying on. We are more open to dating a man with some weight on his bones and whatnot.
That's true.
But we're not more willing to date a broke man, right? So it's the same thing, But I just believe that women don't understand, or they underestimate the power of feminine mystique. Everything doesn't need to be shown. Everything doesn't need to be said. Most of the men that I've talked to, they would rather you not be naked. They would rather undress you with whatever you have on. True. Strip clubs are suffering because you can go on Instagram and see the same stuff on Instagram as you do at the strip club.
Easy.
For free.
Because women, they fight so much for equality that they're not getting any equity. So they're not moving the needle the way that they think they are. But you can't tell them that, and I'm sure people will listen to this. Oh, she bashing women. I'm not bashing. Y'all just don't like to hear what the truth is. You wanted always things to be said, with roses and candy canes. And it doesn't work that way. I believe the state of where we are has a lot to do with where women has gone. As the quote says, a nation cannot rise higher than its woman. Well, the women aren't rising in womanly wisdom. So I don't expect you not to know. Don't show your man how you put everything together. True enough, your man is your best friend, but have a little bit of decorum, a little bit. do that with your girlfriends. Like, continue to be this fantasy, you know? And that's one of the things that I learned from, I hang out with the OG women that have been married 30, 40, 50 years.
Oh, they know the game.
Listen, one of my mentors, Miss Sabrina Samuel, she's here. She's 70 years old, and she has a whole Facebook channel, and she walks out and she does her little elegant thing, and she talks to the ladies, and she's very, very, very elegant and classy. But when we talk behind closed doors, and I see how she is with her husband, I love Mr. Joe. And they've been married, like, I think 40 years.
Wow.
She's the very thing that I'm talking about, she still has it. Does he do everything right? No. Do we kiki in the car? Be like, girl, you know yes. But at the same time, she allows herself to be desired still at 70. She doesn't show him everything at 70. And I believe women don't understand from a subconscious point, the more you show a man, the less he desires you. And it's not even on the forefront of your mind. It just lessens. And then you wonder, why isn't he romantic anymore? Why doesn't he do these things anymore? Because you're no longer the ooh la la anymore. And stay the ooh la la. No, this doesn't mean you have to be in full makeup and hair done all day and you have to be dressed to the nines. But what does your loungewear look like?
That's important.
And it's so funny when my daughter was when she got married, when she married my son-in-law, he called me one day because he does call and tell on her. He calls it snitch, and but he knows that I'm not biased, so I can call it out, right? But one day he called, he said, "Did you know that your daughter works at home with lingerie on in her office?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, because that's what her mama does. Like, we get cute when we are working, even if we're working from home and nobody's there." He said, "Really?" I said, "Does she get out of trouble with you a lot because of that?" He was like, "Man, she walked like she's gliding through the house." I was like, "Bet she's doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing." And so he always he's a man that when he's wrong, he will come and apologize, right? And so he told her the other day, he said, "You better stay beautiful because you being pretty like that and how you dress and how you keep it together she gets everything. She don't pay no bills." And you had my daughter and son-in-law on the show.
I had both of them, yeah.
She don't pay
no
bills.
Dope episode too.
She don't pay no bills, and she married him with 3 kids from her, she had from her previous marriage. And so when women start to say, "Well, these men don't want," child, do you think he was looking for a woman with little kids? No, but they came across each other, and how she made him feel made him like, "Oh, wait a minute, I like how this feels. I like who I'm becoming with it. So if that means I have to take this in order to get that, I'm gonna just have to make the adjustment." And
it's a good deal. Because he stand on that. He's completely satisfied.
Yeah, and I know my grandkids get on his nerves, especially that youngest when she's 5. but and they go back and forth like that's his own kid. But I know that. But even with Lonnie Boo acting the way she acts, I would not give that up because of this woman is the feminine battery in my back. And so to the point where he said he would share how much money he made. He was already doing well over 6 figures. "Well, Miss April, when Adri came along, bruh, I done quadrupled my income and I did this, and now he's an entrepreneur and this." And then all she has to do is, "Hey, babe." And she calms his nerves. She sits on his lap. We know the girl things. The stuff that most women don't want to do is all ego. It doesn't require you to spend any money. It just requires you to understand the psychology of the man that you're dealing with. And my daughter has mastered that, and I laugh. We go in the car, we laugh, we go eat, be like, "Girl, I saw what you did." She said, "Mom, he ain't going nowhere." And so, and he will share with me. He was like, "Miss April, sometimes your daughter," I said, "I know she's like her mom in these ways." He said, "But man, I ain't going nowhere." I told her if something would have happened, we just get houses next door, but we ain't going nowhere. And it's because of the feminine value that she brings is in alignment with the masculine of what he needs. And he gives her that masculine containership. So regardless of what anybody says, women need masculine leadership. We thrive in that because we're so, "Oh, we're going to do this, I'm going to do that," and we're so flowy. We need you guys to be grounded in your masculinity. We need you all to be able to say, "You know what, babe, I hear that, but we're not going to do that right now." And it's how you say what you say. We need someone to guide and be tender. That's another word. We need the tenderness from you all. That is one of your invisible values, is your ability to be tender. We need you to say, "Do you want my advice or you want me to listen?" We don't need you to solve the problem right now. You just sometimes we want you to listen. So it's those things that I believe we are missing because we're looking at beauty and money.
Right.
You know? So that's
I appreciate you, April, for, just your teachings. Also calling the ladies up, in womanly wisdom, as you describe it. I remember, Ryan, you just took a trip to Colombia with your lady.
Yeah.
It was
nice.
Interesting experience because
dope.
he told me they went out there on that strip, where the ladies out, because, Colombia is very much so well known for a huge, a lot of prostitution.
Prostitution
in the city.
is legal. And, it's a tourist destination for prostitution at this point. And it's very well known, I would say, in all male communities, and particularly also in the black community where, guys go on a bachelor trip or just trips in general. And a part of it is the indulgence in, the prostitution and the sex culture. And, it was our last night and we hanging out, and it was, you can see it's like this entrance that it was just flooded with women. And I really didn't see black guys. So crazy. I really didn't see black guys my whole trip until I seen them walking out of this particular area, whole bunch of dudes together. And I made a joke. I was like, oh, that's probably where the prostitution happened at. I finally see niggas. That's what I said. Right. And my buddy started laughing, and he's like, y'all want to go see how it looks? And, I'm with the young lady. The young lady I date, and I'm looking at her like, is this okay? So we can walk through here. It's still the club. It's still touristy area, but this is the area where the more dark clubs are.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we walking through, and it's thousands of women. All right, they all kind of just lined up, kind of just standing. And you would walk past, and of course I'm walking with her, so I would see how they would look at me, look at us, like, hey, us, you choosing us? But one of the things that after we walked through. And it was like maybe about 3 blocks, and you kind of see how the people hanging out. I asked, I said, wow, that was crazy, right? It's like, I looked at her and my friends I was with, it's like, that was thousands of women. And she was like, yeah, they dress like they just going to the club. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, they dress like they're going to an Atlanta club. And I asked her, I'm like, well, what did you think you would see? She was like, well, I thought I would see like crackhead looking women, strung out on the side. She was like, Ryan, those women were beautiful. And it was mind blowing to her because she started to evaluate some of the things that she wears. And then we would be in the club and she's, nudging me. She's like, that's one right there, ain't it? And I'm like, yeah, that's one too. And they literally were wearing, cause like when I look at you,
they wearing Fashion Nova fits.
Fashion Nova fits. You dress like a woman, like a lady.
Thank you.
Right? It's very classy. I talk about Tyshawn's lady all the time. You can look at her Instagram. Every occasion, whether it's swimwear, loungewear, winter wear, athlete, it's all ladylike, And she was she's a younger woman, the woman I date. She was completely blown. She's like, oh my God. She was like, I see exactly what you're talking about. She was like, it's things that I can no longer wear now after seeing those young women dress advertised. She's like, now those same skirts and the tops, she's like, wow, those are advertising campaigns for the men. And it's just something I don't really think the average woman, especially the younger women, I don't really think they know what they're communicating when they wear certain outfits.
Because Instagram has normalized prostitution wear.
Yeah,
like
prostitution wear.
It's a name for it.
Right.
We've normalized like a level of like, because I remember when Instagram first came out, like it was kind of crazy seeing people, even in like swimsuits. I was like, whoa, like,
Right.
Now, I mean, we have been numbed to a degree where it's soft porn.
Yeah.
And Instagram really is just a reflection of where our culture is. So I don't even want to just limit it to Instagram. That's really what we're doing in real life. So, it's going to really take our mature OG women to really educate our ladies, because again, that take me as I am culture doesn't work with a man.
Right.
He sees a woman, he sees what you're looking like, he sees how you wearing and carrying yourself. You instantly in a category, and you got a glass ceiling over this relationship where at best you're going to get them 6 minutes
right.
that we was talking about, because that's how you have positioned yourself.
Position yourself.
And
they think sexy means less clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also have to talk about the fellas, though, because the only reason why the women are able to get away with this is because of men. The only reason why OnlyFans girls make so much money is because they have customers.
That is
so
true. That is very
if we're
true.
going to talk about the women and how they are dressing and presenting themselves, we have to understand and talk to the men about their desire for that. because women are, the whole prostitution thing that you saw, their look was based upon what catches y'all's eye.
Yep.
Now, if y'all were looking at, they had on a burlap sack and a turtleneck, then they would all be wearing that.
Right.
So
Right.
everybody has a freaking part to play.
Yeah.
So women that do that, they're doing it for y'all attention because y'all give it to them. It's like men will go into the strip club knowing that these women are there to take their money, but because you need to feel validated, you need to feel wanted and desired, you willing, knowingly, like we talked about the women, knowingly the choices that they make, like your friend that went over to Jamaica, that was her choice. Y'all knowingly go in there, knowingly with a pocket full of money that you should be paying your rent with. But because I need this feeling and I need to feel this, I'll go here every week. So the same way women need to, as you say, this whole prostitution culture, there's no prostitution culture without customers.
That's a fact.
So what are y'all going to do? And how are y'all going to change y'all appetite? Your palate has to change. So the women are only doing this to get you attention. And I believe that's why BBL culture is so prevalent, especially in the black community, because black men glorify what? Big butts.
Big
so
butts.
if you don't have that and you're not confident in who you are and you know what you are as a woman, what you have to offer, but you see all these men going crazy over tail and it causes you to feel less than, what are you going to go do? So yes, women have a part to play, but women are playing their part based upon y'all's appetite. So what y'all going to do? What?
Yeah.
Find God.
Yeah, that's it. and run
Y'all
away.
better
Run
find
away
him.
from that behavior.
Because it's you 100% correct, man. It's on both of our ends, to repair our culture, because it's really disgusting when you think that a young lady could throw up an OnlyFans and make six figures, in a month.
Why is it disgusting?
Because one is men who are sitting at home having this parasocial relationship, this virtual sexual relationship where he's spending transactionally his money, lusting on this woman virtually. I mean, does not even have the gall to even meet a woman in person.
Yeah.
Right? Does not
he's
have
lame.
the gall.
Yeah, because he's lame.
He's
Because he's lame.
And I'm talking about that is truly lame, to be transactionally spending money and sending SMS text messages to a woman, lusty messages
To a virtual
where
assistant,
she's
probably.
paid to engage, and as soon as those recurring payments end, all of her interest in you ends with it. It's absolutely disgusting.
It's disgusting, but you know why I think a lot of men have a problem with women who do that? Because men always talk negatively about the women that do that.
That's true.
Right.
And the men.
Men don't get it. No, men do not. Men do not
I
get
get on
it.
the men too.
You do, but as a whole, go to any of a girl on Instagram or post something about having an OnlyFans or she sell pictures of her feet or whatever. Men dog her out and tell her you didn't use your brain and blah 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 blah. You want to know the real problem with that?
What?
It's that we can just be what we are and use what we have, while you guys' value come from what you earn and what you can do. That's how the world sees you. So a woman can literally say, I was born with a vagina and men like vagina. And I can say, I can put a price tag on it. I don't have to go learn anything. I don't have to go do anything. I can just lay here and be. Oh, there's a group of men that have a fetish with feet. All I have to do is take my natural born feet, take pictures of them. Okay, I'll spend $50 to get a little pedicure.
Yep.
And there are men that will send me money to see my feet. Men have a problem with what women can naturally be without having to put any effort because of y'all's nature.
And get what they want.
And get
They
exactly what they want.
Well, I think, but it's because it's also just a sign of just low moral value, just low integrity.
But everybody's moral value. Okay, so you're saying a woman's moral value for doing that. But here's the thing. Who said that she believes in the same morals as you do?
No, I agree.
And on top of that, like I said, all she has to do, well, society has told women that they have to be smart and work hard and do all of these things to be successful. And if she uses her body, it's a problem. Honestly, if I wouldn't do it, but I don't see a problem with that. And the reason why I don't is because
Hold on, wait. You don't see a problem with what? The OnlyFans women?
no, I don't have a problem with them because there's a customer base. But men want women to stop doing OnlyFans as a means to control themselves. If it's not available, I don't have to have de-discipline, and I'm not going to go over there.
That's not it, April.
I believe so.
Here's my opinion on that. It's the easy way out. So obviously prostitution is an age-old business. Mm-hmm. It's like one of the earliest economies since the beginning of time. Because they have customers.
Yep.
No customers, no business.
Because they have customers and because men always have had value on the woman's womb, right? We want to be inside that thing, especially. But the thing about it is a woman of character is going to make sure she has a standard of how she goes about putting that. Because again, it's easy. Of course you can go about making money that way. Just like a man, I feel the same way about the man selling crack. So like there's a customer base for crack. Mm-hmm. You know, you can go out there and you can make a lot of money slanging crack. But I mean, there's a customer base for child pornography. Mm-hmm. There's a customer base for some sick industries in this world. But we gotta have a level of integrity to know not to involve in these. And if you see the repercussions and the consequences of these women that get into that industry, is so much issues that come with that, which shows that you probably shouldn't have been in that industry in the first place.
Let me ask you this. Did you have integrity when you were talking to women into sleeping with you that you had no business being with?
I had no integrity.
But that's what I'm talking about. We everybody's definition of what integrity should be is different. So what my question to you is, why do you think men can't not have de-discipline, and just even though these OnlyFans girls are offering it, they don't put their credit card in? Because I've studied the statistics on that. The average age of a man on OnlyFans is in his 30s.
Wow.
Between 30 and like 55. That means he's willingly putting in his credit card.
1,000%.
You know, nobody
hard-earned funds.
My point is, you can't say it's the 19, 20-year-olds. Oh, they don't know no better. These are grown men.
Grown men.
So the thing is, women get demonized, and like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. You know, that's something I wouldn't do. But the same way women get demonized for using what they have, that you want. Women always get demonized for giving men what they want. Because, oh, well, that's not integrity, but this is what you want. And I believe a lot of times men don't like to accept that's what they are. That's what you want. But on the other side of it, I have this persona that I keep myself in this position. I would never do that until nighttime comes, until they're sitting in their car by themselves. It's equivalent to people that say, oh, these reality shows are horrible, but the numbers show that y'all are still watching it. So men will go on and demonize women for being an OnlyFans or being a prostitution or whatever they're doing, not realizing it's you, my love, who won't accept that this is the type of behavior that you participate in, because you don't want to see yourself as trash, as the trash dude that does this in his spare time or in his secret time. So when you go out to the world, you present like X, Y, and Z. Why do you think we see so many like people in church, priests and pastors, that you catch on these other sites that they have no business being on, but they present like they are of the upright because they won't deal with their own demons. So if we're going to demonize the women, like I said, I don't have a problem with them, because I would have to have a problem with you too.
Right. You got to.
Because the thing is, are you willing to do what needs to be done to make that business go out of style? Men will never be able to, on a whole, not individually, on a whole, to have de-discipline. That's why this exists. And so I just see women totally, demonized for this, but it never clicks when I'm looking at these posts, and these women might say, like, there's a lady that I follow, and I just started following her. She was the manager of a brothel, and I thought it was interesting. I said, oh, let me see what she's talking about. But when I look at the comment section, they are dragging her for being a manager of a brothel, but they're not dragging the men that go into the brothel. There would be no business if there were no men who desire sex at that level. So I'm just saying, if we're going to talk about morals and character, and a woman should have a standard and boundaries, the man should do the same. But honestly, we know most men have no discipline, and they're not going to do it.
That's fair.
I hear that same sentiment from women all the time. Like, hey, worry about yourself. If you stop doing that, then they'll stop doing it.
Look at the things that y'all like on social media, the things that you watch, the things that tells you who you really are. Look at your activity, but people don't want to accept this is who I am, because I present this way. And it brings me to when I was telling my daughter, we all run the family businesses, and my son-in-law, he's the data guy, but I am the one that have the more of the wisdom and the experience. So it's equivalent to the women that take our polls. How we create our products for our ladies is to take a poll to see what they want. The data says that they want to learn how to be better women for themselves and embrace their femininity and blah, 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 blah. Bet. We create products for that. I turned 48 2 years ago. We did a product. No, when I turned 49, we did a product, giving them exactly what they wanted. I charged $49 for it. It was all about the woman. No man included. I have products and academies where we don't even talk about men. We just talk about femininity. Men in relationships is forbidden. We created this thing based on the data of what they said they wanted. We didn't even do $5,000 in sales.
Wow.
Off of a $49 product. The year before, I did a same type of offer for $48, but it was all content about men and how to use the ooh la la, how to flirt and all that. I did over $51,000 in 48 hours.
Wow.
So my point in saying that is, just because a person say they want a thing, their actions and what they invest their time, money, and resources in tells you something else. So it's equivalent to men who say, I don't like these, we don't like these hoes, we don't like this, but I'm watching what you're paying attention to. I'm watching what you're investing in. These women are not making these millions of dollars on OnlyFans per month if they didn't have people who presented one way in public and another way behind closed doors. At least these women are showing you what they are.
It's some aspect of that which I understand exactly what you're saying, because you got these people online who are basically virtually condemning these women.
Yes.
Versus understanding, hey, these women probably need help. These women probably been through stuff that's I think they need help.
Do they? Some may not. Some may just found at y'all tricks and decided I'm gonna use my body to get some money. Some of them may not have any type of issue and just decided, you know what, shoot, I don't want to work hard, or I'm going to do this. And like the girls at the strip club, I'm going through nursing school. I'm going to be a doctor. So I know men are, they need this fix and they need to feel something. So I'm just going to go be a stripper until I get out of college, and then I'm going to go be my doctor.
So this is the thing. I think they need help if the intent is to make money from exploiting weaknesses from men or women, that the product or end product or service is actually unhealthy for them.
You got to be kidding me, Ryan.
No.
Didn't you just say y'all have exploited women to get the cookie knowing that you wasn't going to be with them? It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's like, this is the thing, April. Even the guy, first of all, both of us are wrong, but we saying we were wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But see, and this how you know we know it's wrong. We know it's wrong. I was actually talking to a guy the other day. And even the guy, and this is a guy who indulges in sex culture. You talking about he'll be in Colombia. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who actually deals with and has these relationships with these women. And it was really fascinating talking to him because he also has a daughter, right? And I literally asked him this question because I said, being that you have this, relationship with women where you like to transactionally pay for sex. And even, to the point where he was like, look, man, at this point, man, I don't even got the time to be, trying to do all this stuff, jump through all these dinners and stuff just to, have sex or be with a woman. I ain't dealing with none of that. So he's like far gone. I said, now at this point, if you had to advise your daughter when she should give her body away to a man, what would you tell her? He ran into the biggest conundrum because now he's having to go against his own lustful moral value, and now all of a sudden he's now searching for words when he's really searching for morals. All of a sudden he's starting to go to, I would tell her that she gotta wait as long as she can. I'm like, okay. So now we say, okay, what if she wait 2 weeks? Ooh. What if all she can wait is 2 weeks? But no, that ain't enough because she got to really know that man. Okay, what is knowing him now?
Exactly.
You don't have to know the woman. Mm-hmm. Why does she have to know the man? So see, we know inherently that it's wrong. Like even the guys deep in that culture, they know that there's no excuse for these women, even that you dealing with, those sluts putting their body out. Mm-hmm. And you being the slut purchaser, everybody is at equal footing of wrong But
Only women get demonized.
But
for
see,
it.
Yes.
but no, I get it.
That's the problem.
But I get it. It's a man's world, so the men get to condemn and point fingers, and it can tend to be the loudest.
And still
but you
be
could
purchasing.
you could catch
That part,
me.
Ryan.
You can catch me on wax. Because if you are a man with an OnlyFans account paying for women's feet pics and anything else
Other pics.
transactionally, you're a lame. Find God. Matter of fact, send us info at harleyandtheshit.com. We're going to personally give you one-on-one coaching.
Right.
But-
We're going to bring you up and we're going to pull up your OnlyFans live on camera.
Facts. But see, that's the thing. I'm dealing with these men, April, like these brothers that are absolutely like porn addicted.
Yeah.
They getting erectile dysfunction.
At
It's
30 years old.
Yes.
It's ruining their
We see it.
marriages. It's ruining their sex life. Like this stuff is like, it's very dangerous. So that's why I'm just very careful, especially how we use the platform. With making sure I don't want to demonize one side over the other.
That was
Yeah.
simply my point.
I don't
That
want to
was my
demonize
point.
one side over the other, but I damn sure don't want to say that them women in sex culture are okay, because they not. Y'all need to get y'all behind up out of there, because they gonna feel the repercussions.
But see the emphasis that you just put on. But I'm damn sure not gonna tell the women. But you didn't say that for the. I'm damn sure gonna tell these
No,
men.
I
But that's
did.
what. But no. But that's what. That's what we're talking. That's what I'm talking about. It's the women always get the extra. Like we are y'all's gatekeepers. Like if we close our legs, it'll make everything better for you guys, and you guys don't have to take any responsibility. So that's why when I said I don't necessarily have a problem with these women, it's because I know that innately men are not going to do what they need to do for themselves to stay away from those women. So how they make their money, I'm not here to judge them or tell them that they're wrong or whatnot. I probably will be the one, girl, come on up out of here. Don't, getting them out the club. But at the same time, the reality is they only exist because of men. But like you just said, you put more emphasis on the woman. So that's what society does. It puts more emphasis on the woman for giving men what they want. These women are giving men what they want. And it's like, why is she doing that? Why do you want it?
And I hear that from women a lot. I mean, you talk about women who would never indulge in that lifestyle,
Right.
don't like it, stay away from it, and they still, or you might be talking about how a woman dress. Hey, women shouldn't dress like that. And I've heard that perspective from many mature women. They like, listen, I understand what you're saying, but what about men? And what about what you are going to do? So I do understand
Yeah,
that
it's like
accountability aspect.
what are men going to do to curb their appetite for that?
We're working on it. We're working on it.
For how long?
It's for
well,
life. I mean, it's a process.
Nah, it's an everyday fight.
Yeah, it is.
It's an
I'm
everyday fight.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it is. I'm sure you guys get to be around and see beautiful women all the time. It's making a conscious decision to say, this is where I'm going, to be. And this is why when I started really working with the men more full time, I get to see it. I get to see men in a way that most women will never be able to see because of creating that safe space and being able to use what I call feminine language to engage with them. And what women really don't understand, I believe, about you guys is just how sensitive, tender, and vulnerable you are. But we're not, so for little girls, we're not taught to see you as that. We're taught to see you as, you should know everything, period. Why don't you know this? Why? What's the problem? Well, we've never taught that you guys have feelings. We taught that you think with one head. Most girls, if they're honest, they'll tell you their fathers, their mothers, or uncles, or whoever told them, don't let him talk to you into nothing because he just want to put his pee-pee in you. That's what we hear growing up as girls. So it can be difficult for a woman to see a man be vulnerable when we are not ingrained with the fact that you guys have emotions. We are ingrained with you guys only want sex. And then the culture with these men buying sex is evidence of that, right? So I just believe that this is the best time for men to rise up in their intrinsic values, because we've never required it of you in the past, because back then, a lot of women were getting married out of survival. Well, we don't need you to survive in that way anymore. What can you give a woman that money cannot buy? And so working with men, and then we started a radio show called The Feminine Ear, where men are seen, heard, and understood. And men just call in and ask me questions.
I saw that. That's dope.
Yeah, but you know what? Women, y'all messed it up. I'm going to tell you why. We had to change the format, so we're coming back radio style.
Okay.
Because what's happened is you have to know your audience. And if men being the audience, looking at the data, we had a lot of men watching, but they wouldn't necessarily call in. And it's because of how women were talking negatively in
Kill
the
them in the chat. Kill them in the chat.
So I said, you know what? I enjoy this. You know, I'm only doing things that bring me joy, and the Feminine Ear show brings me joy. So we're changing the format to where men can actually call in and talk. They don't have to be seen.
Oh, wow.
Because it gives them that anonymity, and they can actually just explain whatever they want to explain. They were like, well, why don't you just turn off the chat? I said, why don't y'all just sit back and relax? Why do I have to turn off the chat? Because you don't know how to be respectful at my house. I'm just not going to invite you. And so that's what happened. So the fellas, I mean, we have got so many letters. I'm like, well, why don't you guys call in? It's because of what they were seeing from the women. And women want to know what men want, but you gotta allow them the platform, even if you don't agree. Every man that comes on and had questions, they don't always, I don't always agree, but it's more of a coaching session. Because we had one guy, and men deal with this all the time. Y'all always talk about the gold digging woman, or the woman that, why do women want a man with so much, and why does he have to have all these things? And my question always is, why don't you deal with a woman who's okay with where you are?
They can't answer that, I'm sure,
No, that's a hard one.
because that's usually not what they want.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like, so you complain about women wanting more and having a standard that you don't fit. So why don't you date a woman that is where you are? So I asked one of my guests, I said, so how many women do you know that like you right now? He was like, 3. I said, why don't you want them? He said, well, typically they don't have what you're asking for, what you're looking for. I said, wait. But you're trying to go over here and you don't have so, but you're complaining, having these barbershop talk about women and what they don't want, but you have women right here that's okay with your $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, okay with where you live and what you have, but you don't want them. What's the problem? Well, she's a BBW, okay. But do you know she'll take care of you? Yeah. She do real good by me. He's going through all of this conversation about the wonderfulness of this woman. But you don't have enough money to get the women that you want, according to you, or you haven't grown as a man in this area. So what's the complaint? I've always wanted to understand that about men. They complain about women they don't have access to, but they will not level up to become the type of man that can get that type of woman.
Take too much work. Take
So
too
what
much
you
work.
complaining about? Like, stick with the women. Fellas, why don't y'all stick with the women that want you? And in the chat, in the comment, right, answer that. Why don't you stick with the women that want you?
Great question. Great. We
I'm
can run
always
a whole
curious.
show on that one.
Stick with the woman that wants you.
And I think that new format you got is going,
Thank you.
that's going to pop.
I'm
Because
enjoying it.
yeah, they don't want to they don't want to be judged, because the chat is relentless.
Yeah.
It's relentless.
I was just
Exactly.
like, oh my goodness. But the funny thing is, I could tell my women that I've trained in the chat versus the women that were just random coming.
Rabbit
My women, they were they're totally different. And I love, like, I don't train women outside of my All Things Feminine Social Club at all. When you go in there, it's peaceful. They're there to learn. People would ask, why don't you train women anymore? Why don't you do YouTube videos anymore? Y'all crazy. I will not.
I understand that.
I can't, because everything is so venomous. Everything is so mean girl. Everything is always looking for something, you know. Oh, but I know he got a standard. Look at his teeth. Look at his hair. Look at it. We got to stop doing that. If the same men that you claim that you want, we got to give them a platform. And I have not seen a woman that is respected in her field like myself be able to talk to men in a way to get them to open up. And I believe that's just a gift. And what it's doing is, I'm taking the women's, the loudness of the women away, so they're forced to have to listen. They're forced to have to see, this is how you have dialogue with a man, even if you don't agree with him. This is how, you know, you allow him the floor. This is how they're forced to listen. So the women are still going to come, but I thoroughly enjoy working with the fellas, because by the time a man comes to me, oh, he tired. Because men don't just come looking for relationship advice. They don't.
Oh, no,
they don't just do that.
It's when the relationship is about to be over or has
Yep.
ended. It's
Yep.
when everything has completely been
Especially
destroyed.
when they're going online. First of all, a brother barely gonna be vulnerable one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let alone in a chat. And all the brothers are doing while they on there is looking at the chat while they're talking to you.
Exactly.
So that all he sees is the space getting less and less safe by the second.
Exactly. That's what happened. So I paused it and I told my team, all right, let's roll this back. I got to continue on because every day we people go to our website and send letters. And now we've added this Voxer thing onto our website where the men can actually leave their question, via voicemail. And I'm like, this is a safe space. And men have the highest percentage of suicide because they don't feel like they have anybody to talk to. Well, they could talk to their other friends and women are the first teachers. And because I understand that, I don't say everything men do are right. I love men, all shapes and sizes. However, I do believe that many of them were not taught the things that women are asking for. Do I believe a man can love? I do. But I believe a man loves from the perspective of what you have been to him causes him to love you. Not just wake up, I love you. No, it's the transactions that have been had, the feminine experience that you've been giving me, it causes me to feel now I love you. Whereas women, we just love, we just love. I don't believe men derive that love the same way, but I do believe that you have the ability to love as long as what's happened, the prerequisites were done to cause you to love, because we all pick people that are a benefit to us. So
it's true.
If we're a benefit to me, oh my goodness, you helping me with my vision, peace, legacy, portfolio, girl, I love you.
Right.
But it just doesn't happen because we're in communion with each other. It has to be something that the woman has been providing to evoke those feelings that causes him to love, is what I believe.
Nah, I get, and see, that's why this book is going to be very important. Tell us now about the book. When is it coming out? Who is it for? And what is it about?
So the first one, I did 2 books. It was time to do another book, but I realized the books that I had to do after assessing what's going on in the world is people don't understand their value. So in November, the book, Her Invisible Value, What Feminine Women Bring to the Table came out. And June, since it's Men's Health Month and Father's Day, I'm dropping it in June. It's called His Invisible Value, What Masculine Men Bring to the Table. And the premise of both books, I took 100 traits that have nothing to do with beauty, money, provision, the basic things, and I extracted those traits that are invisible that we both get to experience from each other so that people can start understanding what intrinsic values are, because right now it's all about the extrinsic. It's all about what I can do and what I am providing for you. And I believe that more and more men would feel like they have more value outside of their paycheck if they understood their intrinsic values. And so it's going to require them to dive deep. What you mean I got to be a little more have more empathy? Well, empathy gets you places. You're able to see others, outside of yourself. You may not agree, but you're able to empathize with them. So those are some of the things that I have in there. So in the book, each book, it has what the trait is, why you need it, how to apply it to your life, and how to apply it to your significant other's life. So it's more like a guide of traits and then of course I do my little April Mason thing in there, but it's more about you learning about what your value is. So when somebody says, what do you bring to the table? You don't start with the basics. Who are you as a man? Who are you as a woman?
A car.
I don't care. I do too. Now what? We all have these things, but we're not having the best success with connecting. So if everybody has the stuff, and that's the value, why aren't people connecting? It's because they don't know the intrinsic value. So both books are requiring you to have to sit down and look at, what do I value about myself? Am I only this? It requires you to strip away. And I always ask my clients, take away everything. I'm a mom, I'm a father, I have this job, I have this position, titles. Take all of that away and tell me who you are. And 99% of people can't, because their whole identity is wrapped around what they can do, especially women. Women have what I call a false sense of confidence. Their confidence comes from what they've accomplished. But anytime I strip away all of the accomplishments, that same confidence is not there, because it's easy to boast about, I went and I got my PhD and I'm the judge and I'm the doctor and I'm a mom and I'm all of these things. Okay, take that away and tell me who you are.
Right.
Nobody can too often. So I figured if I'm helping the women get right with their intrinsic value, it's only fair that I help the men as well too. So if maybe we can come together because there's so much we have as women that help us become better. But sometimes y'all don't listen and you buck the system because you think you know when it comes to the men. And I heard that's why a lot of men's conferences, have started to decline over the years because men weren't going because they think they know.
Wow.
But men are not emotional, have a lot of emotional intelligence. So we need to get you there so that men can start picking better women, because you have to know the difference between a cubic zirconia and a diamond, and you won't until you know your intrinsic value, so you know what to look for. So that's what both books are pretty much about.
And are they both coming out at the same time?
No, the woman's book came out in November. It came out in November. The men's book comes out in June.
So we'll link that one.
Yes.
And both of those, by the way, will be linked in the description, so you can go ahead and check those out.
We need that though, because we did like a pilot channel where we ran another channel for a while. We did like 2.5 months, 2 lives a week. We called it Hardly in Love.
Okay.
And it was a singles dating activation channel. So the amount of issues and connection issues between men and women is like,
it's crazy.
We would literally have conversations after the show, and it was like, yo, because at some point you become a matchmaker because you're trying to get the right people to fit in this dating game. And at some point we was like, yo, this is literally impossible for us to find matches because everybody is suffering from some level of delusion.
Yes.
And nobody, wants to be real about what issues they have,
Yes.
Yep.
So, you are needed in this space.
You. And it's hard to match because I was a matchmaker for 15 years. The thing is, we don't even match anybody unless they've gone through our training for men and women.
Wow.
Because they don't even know what they want. And so it's like, can you hook me up with him, hook me up with her? I can. I have an arsenal of women that I've trained to go. I have thousands of women in my private communities that I have that if I wanted to hook somebody up with, I can. But I'm not going to do it because I don't know the type of man you are.
Right.
I'm not going to hook. If you're a woman coming to me, say, bro, what about him? I don't know you. Depart from me. You have not gone through this femininity, womanly training that has nothing to do with a man yet. So I can't even hook you up with any of the men. Like, I have an arsenal of qualified men. I have them that are some are in their 30s, 40s and 50s that's never been married, never had any kids. Nothing wrong with them. It was more so I wanted to make sure I was solid before I had children, and I didn't want to have any accidental children. I have one now that he's 50, successful, an executive over there at Coca-Cola. He's I've known him for a while, and he's divorced, but he is looking for a woman, and he still wants to have a baby. So I said, okay, let me see what I can do. But I know him. I know what he's gone through. I know his mentality. I know he's a provider type. He's a great man, the type of man that women want. I know he's that. I have an arsenal, y'all, of those type of men, but I refuse to connect them with anybody that has not gone through training to become a better woman. But then when they ask where the men at, I got them. I got them, and I'm actively looking for them, and I match them with the women that have done the work. So the men are doing the work, the women are doing the work, and it's best to match them that way. And then they at least have some type of foundation,
right?
To launch from, versus I'm getting on the internet and I'm gonna try to match you. I don't know you. They don't know your background. I don't know what you've gone through. So doing it the way that we do it, it makes it a lot easier so that we know everybody has the same training. Everybody's getting the same understanding. Everybody's making identity switches and learning their values. And then when they get together, our success rate has been 90% of our ladies have gotten engaged and married within a year.
That's incredible.
Wow.
That's incredible.
So y'all better go ahead and get it right.
Right, because they love them under a year timeline. That's what they love.
Because it doesn't take a man all day to figure it out. It doesn't.
Oh, shots fired.
The same. It doesn't. And this is why. This is why I say that. When you deal with a visionary man, a man of influence in business, a man that makes decisions every day, the way he makes decisions to make things happen in his day-to-day life doesn't change just because he met a woman.
It's true.
So how does all of a sudden you're not this proficient decision maker that you were in this business with this woman? Like,
ooh,
how? It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, now you indecisive.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. That's not why she liked you, And I just believe that men who know who they are and what they want, and they're solid and they know it when they see it, it does not take all day And so I train my women to be in the posture to be able to even receive that type of a man because of what she's being. When she's rising up in those 4 pillars of her the feminine spiritual spirit, the femininity, spirituality, sensuality, and wisdom, you attract men that want to provide and take care of you like what is a moth to a flame. You are in a completely different energy. I have to prepare my women to be not afraid to accept that, because we live in this, he narcissistic, he love bombing. I have to teach them the difference between a man who wants you and a man who's love bombing you. A man who is, when a woman is in those 4 pillars, she cannot be love bombed because of all of the components, the tentacles that come with those 4 things. So my ladies understand, he just ready. He see me and he don't want nobody to lock me in. He's not narcissist. He's not trying to love bomb me. He's not trying to get over. He sees what I am. Women who deal with that, they don't have these other 4 pillars as their GPS. So it makes it a little bit easier for us to do our little matchmaking that we do.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm a check on Ryan's relationship after this episode.
Listen, I'm talking about listen. No more questions.
But I appreciate you for even having that conversation.
Oh yeah, of course.
And being vulnerable, even knowing that she may watch it and see. Right. I appreciate that because you're living in your truth, and there's decisions that you have to make for you. I just say, don't make the decision based on the fact that you think you're missing out on something. If this young lady has what you need, I'm telling you, the higher you go, the smaller your pool gets, and the more paranoid you're going to get, because you don't know who's going to be there for you. Right what now, they want from you. She's here for you. And this may blow up, and next thing you know, you guys are on TV and doing your thing. Do you think the woman going to want you because, oh my God, he's just so amazing?
Right.
They don't know anything about you. Women like men you know how many women ask me to hook them up with the ball players that I work with? I'm like, why, girl?
You don't even know.
You don't know him. But I just feel like I'm supposed to be a basketball. I see myself as a basketball player wife. You do know I have to get them to husband material. They're not husband material, a lot of them right now that I work with. Well, I just think that, I'm like, that's that delusion. You don't even know this man. But based upon what his Superman that he presents. The package look like. You like it. Yeah. I get to see the Clark Kent, even though they're making $100 million. Can you handle him when he's Clark Kent? And for most women, the answer is no, because their Clark Kent is something serious. It's something serious because of everything that they've never been taught how to deal with those things. They were just given a lot of money, but they're the same individuals. So, yeah. Man,
there you have it. Well, first of all, thank you so much,
Absolutely.
April, for
You're so welcome, my love.
With your presence here. And I'm sure she blessed you too. If y'all feel blessed, drop love blessed in the chat. All right, thank you guys so much here for tuning in to another episode. I want everybody here, please, y'all see, we're going to have the links in the description. The book is on the way, y'all. Check it out right here below. And also, please don't leave this episode before you go ahead and subscribe to the Hardly Initiated channel. That's the smallest token that you can give to us as a platform to help us grow and continue to get incredible talents like April Mason and keep these conversations that the culture needs. And with that being the case, y'all already know how we do it. Hardly Initiated. We are out. Let's be real. Most people aren't stuck because they don't want to change. They're stuck because they don't have structure, no system, no support. And that's exactly why we're launching this new community. Every week, I talk to people who are spiritually hungry. They're consuming content, they're trying to grow, they're trying to figure life out, but they're doing it alone. And that's where momentum fades. This community is built for men and women who want to grow in faith, family, and fitness with the structure, accountability, and connection they've been missing. I'm telling you, we're going to have challenges, workshops, inner circles, and even in-person events. So y'all, this is not a course. It's a culture and an environment of transformation. And when you plug in, your habits change, your focus sharpens, and your life starts to align. So the doors are about to open, y'all. Click the link in the description and join the wait list now, because seats are limited. So this is your moment. Let's get it.